Your $500,000 suburban home would become a death trap at minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, while a 100-year-old Alaskan log cabin remains perfectly habitable. That reality should terrify anyone who's ever trusted their life to a modern heating system. When the power goes out in January in Fairbanks, your neighbor in the subdivision starts burning furniture to survive while the pipes freeze and burst inside his insulated walls. 2 miles away, an off-grid homesteader sleeps comfortably through the same Arctic night in a cabin heated by nothing more than banked coals in a wood stove. The fire died hours ago, yet his thick log walls continue radiating gentle warmth like a massive wooden furnace. The difference isn't luck. It's not just about having wood for fuel. It's two completely different approaches to capturing and holding heat. Your home fights a losing battle against cold by trapping thin layers of air. The log cabin wins by storing thermal energy in thousands of pounds of solid timber. The modern home works like a paper-thin puffer jacket, perfect until the moment it fails, then it fails completely. The log cabin works like sitting beside a boulder that's been soaking up sunshine all day. After the sun sets, that thermal mass keeps radiating warmth for hours. This goes beyond insulation versus mass. High-tech construction creates catastrophic vulnerabilities that ancient building methods simply don't have. The moisture from your breath will turn your fiberglass insulation into sheets of ice, but barely affects a log wall. The metal fasteners holding your modern home together become superhighways for cold to bypass every expensive thermal barrier you've paid to install. We're examining the difference between resilient engineering and brittle engineering, between systems designed for survival and systems designed for convenience. The confusion about staying warm starts with R-value. Walk into any hardware store and every insulation product shows this thermal resistance number. You learn to think warmth means stopping heat from escaping. But resistance and thermal storage are different things. In extreme cold, that difference decides whether you're comfortable or in trouble. Fiberglass insulation works by trapping thousands of air pockets. Still, air insulates well, but this creates a barrier with no thermal mass. It can't store heat. When your furnace shuts off, those air pockets start cooling right away. In a few hours, your walls match the temperature outside. A hand-scribed log wall works differently. 12 inches of slow-growth spruce has serious thermal mass. It absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly. This creates thermal mass lag, a delay between when you add heat and when it radiates back into the room. Compare a thin metal pan to a cast-iron Dutch oven. The metal pan burns you instantly but cools in minutes. Cast iron takes longer to heat up, but once it's hot, it keeps radiating warmth long after you pull it off the stove. The log wall is your Dutch oven. It's a thermal battery storing heat from the wood fire and releasing it gradually through the day and night. Thermal mass helps, but the type of heat matters too. A wood stove produces radiant heat, infrared energy that travels in waves and warms objects directly, like sunlight on your face. This energy penetrates into the logs, charging them from the inside. Your forced air furnace just blows hot air around the room. That air touches your drywall surface but can't penetrate and charge the wall itself. The result feels completely different. In the log cabin, the walls become radiators. Warmth comes from every surface: floor, ceiling, walls. It's enveloping, comfortable. In the modern home, you're surrounded by cold surfaces with nothing between you and them except a thin layer of heated air. This is why off-grid Alaskans heat their homes with one wood stove, while your house needs ducts to every room. The log cabin distributes heat through the building materials. Every log is part of the heating system. Your home moves air through hollow spaces, fighting the cold surfaces around you. When the power fails in your subdivision, you lose heat production and distribution at once. The furnace dies and your ductwork becomes a network of cold passages. When the fire dies in the log cabin, heat keeps radiating for hours through the charged mass of the walls. The heating system and the building are the same thing. The catastrophic failure of modern homes in extreme cold begins with a lie we tell ourselves about vapor barriers and controlled environments. Your house isn't sealed, it's breathing constantly, and that breath becomes lethal when the temperature drops below minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside your walls right now, the air from your heated home contains water vapor, from cooking, showering, just breathing. This humid indoor air is under pressure, trying to escape to the drier, colder air outside. It migrates through microscopic gaps in your drywall, infiltrates your insulation cavity, and hits the cold exterior sheathing. In moderate climates, this moisture might condense harmlessly and eventually dry out. In Arctic conditions, it freezes solid. That fluffy pink fiberglass insulation depends entirely on trapped air pockets for its thermal performance. Ice destroys those air pockets. What started as R13 insulation becomes a solid, frozen mass with the thermal performance of wet cardboard. Your expensive thermal barrier transforms into a thermal conductor, actively drawing heat from your living space and channeling it directly to the frozen exterior. The log wall sidesteps this failure mode through what builders call vapor permeability. Solid wood naturally manages moisture by allowing water vapor to move through the cellular structure of the timber itself. Rather than trapping moisture in a cavity where it can freeze and destroy thermal performance, the log wall allows vapor to migrate gradually toward the exterior where it can escape. The chinking between logs provides additional vapor management, creating controlled pathways for moisture to exit without compromising the thermal envelope. Moisture isn't the only way your modern home betrays you in extreme cold. Every wooden stud in your wall frame creates what's called a thermal bridge, a direct pathway for heat to travel from inside to outside, completely bypassing your insulation. A 2x6 stud has an R value of roughly 6.9, while the fiberglass insulation between studs rates at R19. Every 16 inches across your wall, you have a strip of material that conducts heat nearly 3 times faster than the surrounding insulation. Metal fasteners make this thermal bridging catastrophically worse. Every nail, screw, and metal bracket acts as a tiny heat antenna, conducting warmth directly through the thermal envelope. A thermal imaging camera reveals the truth. Your walls in winter display a clear grid pattern of cold spots at every stud and a constellation of pinprick heat losses at every fastener. In a hand-scribed log wall, thermal bridging is virtually eliminated. The wall is a continuous, homogeneous mass of wood. No studs, no metal fasteners, no grid of thermal weak points. Where logs join together, they're connected with traditional joinery techniques that maintain the thermal continuity of the wall system. The chinking materials, whether traditional moss and clay or modern synthetic compounds, are chosen specifically to match the thermal properties of the surrounding wood. This difference becomes life-threatening when your heating system fails. Your modern home begins bleeding heat through thousands of thermal bridges while simultaneously losing its insulation performance to frozen moisture. The log cabin maintains its thermal envelope integrity regardless of interior humidity or heating system status. The building structure itself becomes your backup heating system. We've traded resilience for efficiency ratings that only work under perfect conditions. Your home might achieve impressive R values on paper, but those numbers assume ideal moisture conditions, perfect installation, and no thermal bridging. The log cabin offers lower theoretical thermal resistance, but maintains that performance consistently across extreme temperature swings and system failures. When the grid goes down and your subdivision goes dark, the modern homes become cold boxes within hours. The log cabins continue storing and releasing thermal energy through their massive wooden walls. The difference is between systems designed for theoretical performance versus systems designed for survival. The design of Arctic-hardened cabins works because it's simple and based on physics, not because someone added more technology. These aren't decorative choices, they're engineering decisions that keep you alive when it's minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Walk up to any real Alaskan off-grid cabin and you'll hit the Arctic entry first. It's an unheated vestibule that works like an airlock. Here's why it matters. Every time you open the front door of a normal suburban home, you're dumping all the warm air near that entrance and replacing it with Arctic air. At minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, one door opening can drop the temperature near your entrance by 10 degrees or more. The Arctic entry fixes this through staged air exchange. You open the outer door, step into the cold zone, close that door, then open the inner door to the heated living space. The first blast of Arctic air gets trapped in the vestibule, a space that's supposed to be cold. Your actual heated area stays sealed. The temperature difference between the Arctic entry and the main cabin might be 30 degrees, but between the entry and outside, it's only 10 degrees. You've cut the thermal shock by 2/3 just by adding a second door and some space. But the Arctic entry does more than manage temperature. It's where you stomp snow off your boots before it melts inside and creates humidity problems. It's where you shed outer layers that carry ice and moisture. And it's where you keep emergency supplies and tools close enough to grab fast, but separated from your core heated space. The modern mudroom is a watered-down version of this. Inside the cabin, the most clever thermal management happens through vertical heat zoning. Hot air rises. Instead of fighting this with expensive ductwork, the cabin uses it. The classic Alaskan sleeping loft isn't there because it looks nice. It's thermodynamics. It delivers maximum comfort for minimum fuel. Here's how it works. Your wood stove sits at floor level, putting out intense heat in the main living area. That heated air rises naturally to the cabin's peak, creating a temperature gradient from floor to ceiling. Instead of trying to heat the entire cabin to the same temperature, which wastes fuel, you're creating different thermal zones for different activities. The floor level might sit around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, comfortable for moving around in layers. The sleeping loft, where the warmest air collects, stays around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. This vertical zoning uses maybe half the fuel of heating a similar modern home because you're not fighting physics. You're using natural air movement to put heat where you need it. During the day, you're in the main cabin area near the stove. At night, you climb to the loft where the warm air has gathered. You're harvesting heat that would otherwise collect uselessly at the ceiling. The structure supports this through careful air circulation planning. Lofts often have small openings or partial walls that let warm air flow up but not escape too fast. The thermal mass of the log walls stores heat during the day and releases it slowly, keeping both zones stable without fans or pumps. Compare that to your modern home. Forced air systems fighting natural convection, trying to keep every room at the same temperature whether you're using it or not. Your heating system works constantly to warm spaces you're not in, while the rooms you actually occupy feel drafty and uneven. The cabin's vertical zones deliver better comfort while burning far less fuel, using nothing more complicated than rising air and smart layout. Every design choice serves survival, creating backup layers of thermal management that keep working even when parts fail. Modern home complexity becomes fragility in extreme cold. The cabin's simplicity becomes resilient. The cast iron wood stove at the heart of every serious Alaskan cabin does something your furnace can't. It makes you more secure instead of more dependent. Your basement furnace turns into useless scrap metal the moment the grid fails. The wood stove just keeps working. Look at what your furnace actually needs: electricity for the blower motor, ignition system, safety controls, natural gas or heating oil trucked in from somewhere else, a certified technician with specialized parts when something breaks. The whole system depends on supply chains, power grids, and professional services that can all fail at once, usually right when you need heat most. The wood stove is simpler, almost no moving parts except a damper and door hinges. Fuel grows outside your door. Anyone willing to learn about fire, draft, and basic metalwork can operate and maintain it. And it does things no modern heating system can match. That heavy cast iron construction keeps radiating heat long after the fire dies down to coals. The cooking surface means you don't need an electric or gas range. The firebox melts snow for water when pipes freeze. You can dry wet clothing before it becomes a hypothermia hazard. During week-long power outages that leave neighbors huddled in cold houses, you're cooking hot meals and living normally. The fuel system runs in a closed loop. A well-managed woodlot produces heating fuel indefinitely. Dead trees, storm-damaged timber, selective cutting, years of heating without depleting the resource. Ashes go to the garden. Cutting, splitting, and stacking gives you exercise and teaches you to read weather patterns, wood moisture content, seasonal cycles. You're connected to the energy system, keeping you alive. Compare that to your heating bill. You consume fuel extracted from distant locations, processed in industrial facilities, delivered through infrastructure you don't control or understand. When it fails, you wait for service instead of fixing problems yourself. The monthly utility payment trains you to think of heat as something you purchase, not something you're capable of producing. The wood stove demands a different relationship. You learn to bank fires for overnight burns, adjust dampers for clean combustion, read chimney draft conditions. You develop an intuitive feel for radiant heat, air circulation, fuel consumption through daily interaction. This isn't primitive drudgery, it's system literacy that makes you harder to break. The maintenance seems like a disadvantage until you realize what it teaches. Cleaning your own chimney means you inspect and understand the entire heating system annually. Splitting firewood connects you directly to your energy budget. Stacking wood teaches you to think seasonally and plan ahead. These aren't chores, they're skills that build self-reliance and deep understanding of what keeps you alive. When Arctic storms knock out power for days or weeks, the wood stove operator barely notices. Heating continues, cooking continues, hot water for washing and drinking continues. Maintaining normal daily routines matters as much psychologically as the physical warmth. You stay capable instead of becoming a victim waiting for rescue. The modern approach trades resilience for convenience that disappears when you need it most. Your high-efficiency furnace becomes expensive junk when the grid goes down. Your smart thermostat goes blank. Your entire heating infrastructure provides no survival value whatsoever. The wood stove becomes more valuable during emergencies than normal times. It transforms from a heating appliance into a complete life support system that can keep you alive indefinitely as long as you know how to use it. One system makes you dependent on external support networks. The other makes you capable of supporting yourself. The most critical component of any Arctic-hardened heating system isn't cast iron or timber. It's the human operator who understands how heat moves, stores, and escapes in extreme conditions. Off-grid Alaskans don't just live in heated buildings. They become thermal engineers who can read fire behavior, predict fuel consumption, and troubleshoot problems that would leave modern homeowners stranded. This literacy begins with understanding wood as an energy source, not just something that burns. The experienced homesteader can evaluate standing timber for heating value. Dense, slow-growth spruce contains more stored energy per cord than fast-growth wood from warmer climates. They understand moisture content, how green wood hisses and steams, while seasoned wood ignites cleanly and burns hot. Splitting wood exposes more surface area for drying and creates the right-sized pieces for efficient combustion. The knowledge extends to fire management techniques that maximize heat output while minimizing fuel consumption. Banking. A fire for overnight burns requires arranging coals and adjusting airflow so combustion continues slowly for 8 to 10 hours without human intervention. Reading draft conditions means recognizing how barometric pressure, wind direction, and chimney temperature affect combustion efficiency. These aren't abstract concepts from manuals, they're practical skills developed through daily interaction with the heating system. Weather prediction becomes a survival skill. The wood stove operator learns to read approaching storm systems and adjust burning patterns. A 3-day blizzard means banking fires differently, stocking more split wood near the stove, and preparing for extended periods when outdoor work becomes impossible. They develop an intuitive sense for how much fuel different weather conditions will require and plan their wood supply accordingly. Temperature management happens through constant small adjustments, not thermostat settings. Opening or closing dampers by small increments changes heat output. Adjusting the air intake affects burn rate and fuel consumption. Moving furniture slightly changes how radiant heat circulates through the living space. The operator develops a feel for these micro-adjustments that maintains consistent comfort while optimizing fuel efficiency. Maintenance becomes preventive medicine. Annual chimney cleaning isn't just removing creosote. It's inspecting the entire exhaust system for damage, checking chimney cap condition, and evaluating draft performance. Ash removal teaches you to recognize normal combustion patterns versus problems that indicate poor fuel quality or airflow restrictions. These routine tasks build intimate knowledge of how every component functions. The modern homeowner's relationship to their heating system is different. You interact with it through a digital interface that abstracts away all understanding of actual thermal processes. When something goes wrong, you call for service instead of diagnosing problems yourself. Your monthly utility bill tells you nothing about energy efficiency or system performance. You remain completely isolated from the physics that keep you warm. The dependence runs deeper than technical knowledge. Modern homes train occupants to expect uniform temperatures throughout the house, regardless of outdoor conditions, occupancy patterns, or energy costs. The wood stove operator learns to dress appropriately for different zones, time activities around peak heating periods, and accept temperature variations as normal. This operational knowledge becomes most valuable during emergencies when professional services aren't available. The experienced operator can diagnose chimney problems, repair stovepipe connections, and maintain heating even when components fail. They understand backup heating strategies and can adapt their system to work around damaged parts. They've developed the troubleshooting skills that come only from years of hands-on operation. The psychological benefits may be as important as the technical skills. Managing your own heating system creates confidence instead of anxiety about energy security. Understanding exactly how your survival systems work eliminates the helpless feeling that comes with depending on infrastructure you can't control or repair. The daily interaction with fire and thermal management connects you to fundamental physical processes that humans have understood for millennia. When grid-dependent neighborhoods go dark during winter storms, the wood stove operator experiences minimal stress because they possess both the equipment and knowledge needed to maintain normal living conditions indefinitely. They've achieved true energy independence not through expensive technology, but through developing the skills needed to operate simple, robust systems that can't be remotely shut off or disrupted by infrastructure failures. The log cabin works because it doesn't fight physics. Modern homes stack up complex systems that all have to work perfectly or the whole thing collapses. The cabin uses thermal mass, manages vapor without machinery, and depends on someone who knows what they're doing. That's it. Next week, we're looking at how these cabins make their own power when the grid goes down across entire regions.